Hello and welcome to this game review. In this game we'll have a look at some opening principles and also we'll look at the way to play in closed positions and how to make progress. So it started strangely e3, e6. Of course, when our opponent allows us, we should just go and take the center. I understand we think in terms of opening names, like if we're playing the French defense, we want to play the French against everything. But the French defense is only the opening against e4. This is not e4. So we shouldn't play the French defense, right? We shouldn't defend at all. We can just take the center ourselves. Okay, here h3, strange move, d5, d4, and here black plays a6 with the point of bishop d7, bishop b5. But this is simply not very relevant at this point. This is not the French defense. This is a d4, d5 type of opening with h3 inserted, which doesn't do anything. So basically white is playing d4. I mean black is playing 1d4, you could say, as white has lost a move here. And in d4, d5 structures, we should always try to use our c-pawn, either by defending on d5, which is not needed now, or by attacking. So we should just play c5, put the knight on c6, behind the c-pawn, develop the rest of the pieces, and then play in the center. And a6 is not a good move because it is not with the opening principles. It wastes time, and now we are planning to waste more time by developing the bishop in 3 moves. So of course white is playing very strangely, but for example after knight f3, bishop b5, black can play like this, but generally this just took a lot of time, and black is down in development quite a bit, because he has only moved pawns and the bishop that he has exchanged. Okay, queen f3, bishop b5, again c5 should be generally played. We shouldn't move around the same piece twice in the opening. But okay, queen e2, white has allowed this and he has not really gained anything in the meantime. And here again, with d4, d5 positions, we really need to use our c-pawn. We cannot play without the c-pawn, so knight c6 is not a very good move, because now we are basically a pawn down. White can use his c-pawn and attack the center. We should have done the same. Okay, knight c6, c3, bishop e7, and knight f6. Now both sides develop their pieces. Knight g5 is a bit random. This doesn't really threaten checkmate as it's defended. Black could have taken the center with e5 now that the knight has moved from f3, and generally we should not forget the principles of the opening. Our plan is usually to develop quickly and to take the center. So here black would be the one for choice. But okay, h6, the knight goes back. And here black plays b5, but it's not clear what black is aiming for. Again, we should use our c-pawn, and for this we should even maybe move the knight away from c6, play c5, and then move back. We really need the influence of the c-pawn when the pawns are in d4 and d5. But okay, the position has then closed up and some moves happened. Okay, knight d7. This knight isn't very bothersome, and here black has this nice idea of playing c5, which looks impossible, but it works out tactically. The point being that this pawn can't take because it's defending the knight on e5, and if this pawn takes, we'll take the knight on e5, move the knight here, and we are a pawn down for the moment, but this is a fork, so we will take back one of the pawns. And now we have opened the c-file for ourselves, and we have created a lot of weaknesses for white. And generally black is a lot better here because of the c3 weakness later, and also the bad bishop on c1. Okay, knight d7, and a few moves later the position really closed up, and it's important to understand what to do in such positions. So generally black is the one that is probably a little bit better. If we look at the pawn structure, it's completely symmetrical, so we have to look at pieces. You know, black has the better bishop because his pawns do not disturb the bishop's movement, while this bishop will have a very hard time to move. It does have the idea of going to h4 eventually, but that is possible to stop. And white has very weak light squares, especially c4 and e4. while black can defend these squares with his bishop, as he is doing. So generally we should just basically pick up our worst piece and try to figure out where it belongs. And clearly this knight on a7 doesn't belong on a7, it belongs either to c4 or e4. And if someone takes it, then we will get another very good structure with a piece on d5 instead. Okay, queen e8. And here black simply blunders a piece in one move. And this is of course the most important part of chess. All of these strategic factors don't matter if we're just going to give up pieces in one move. But okay, white did not notice this. Now black defends. And again, black should try to improve this knight to somewhere to c8, b6, and then c4, maybe even a4 to attack the pawn on c3, but probably to c4. Okay, some moves happen, and now black makes the correct exchanges and gets this position, which is a good knight against a bad bishop. And this knight on a7 looks weird at the moment, but since the position is closed, black will have an infinite amount of time, well, almost infinite amount of time, to get his knight to the best square possible. And for now that is b6, firstly to stop a4, which would activate the rook on the a file, and also would like to go to a4 himself or to c4, to a very strong square where he will attack two pawns and the bishop as well. So here white plays queen h2, the best chance was queen f3, forcing the exchange. And after knight c8, black is probably a little bit better, but white can fight on with a4, and here the position should be rather drawish. Well, okay, queen h2, now rook f7, and a few moves later the knight finally goes to c8, and then it goes to e7, though again from e7 it's not clear where it's supposed to go. The easiest square to go to is c4. But okay, a few moves later white really allows black way too much. The queen has infiltrated, white doesn't have any counterplay, and now all of the pawns are hanging, so black is basically winning. White decided on g4, but this allows black to do a lot of things. He decides to pick up a pawn. He can also pick up this pawn, because it's a free pawn, why not? But queen c3 is fine, and black handles his advantage quite well. Again, this knight is completely dominating this bishop, which is completely out of the game, and the rest is quite easy. A few moves later, black even forked the king and the queen. So pretty well played by black in this game. Of course, we should again avoid blundering pieces in one move, shouldn't move so quickly, but generally in such positions we should try to just improve our pieces, especially the ones which are badly placed.